What we're learning is a Sicha of the Rebbe on Vayikra. That year was Parshas Zochur. Very interesting. Vayikra came out on Yud Aleph Adar, so that's about almost about 2 weeks ago. And so Parshas Zochur, of course, is the time that we remember the destruction, the command to destroy Amalek. I recently saw something very, very interesting, which is that there's two commands. There's the command to remember Amalek and to destroy Amalek, because only through remembrance will you come to do the next one. And so it's an interesting thing. In Judaism, we find very often there's a lot of commands to remember. And sometimes it seems very, very kind of almost childlike. Oh, we're eating some matzah, we came out of the story. But actually, it's very profound, because the only way we got Israel back, the only way we maintain our future is by remembering our past. And, only when you have memory and you have knowledge can you implement that knowledge. And so it's very easy to let the present, we sing this in society, and in fact, historically, this is the way it works, is that when things are good, people basically become stupid. And the reason they become stupid is because they don't have memory of what they had, what the society had to do to make things good. Oh, let's just, get rid of all kind of whatever the structures that make us, that make everything, work. Because, that's why education, what is education really? Education is teaching the story, teaching what is important, because memory is very, very personal. Each person has their own set of memories, and therefore it's very, very critical that we have education. Of course, Judaism is all about education. Yesterday I just finished, I'm working on a course, and one of the points was that, parenting. One of the points of parenting is that we always say to Torah, and why is Torah so important? Because if a person has a value system, then they have a structure for life. And if they don't have a value system, like you were saying before, good and evil is not something of the world. Good and evil is a choice of man. And therefore, to bring people up to choose good and not evil is more important than anything else. So, I don't know if you have any thoughts, comments. Okay, so let's go into the Sicha then. This Shabbos, so again, this was Tafshim Mem Tes, 5749, 1989, the Rebbe is talking. This Shabbos is Yud Aleph Adar, which is the 11th day of Adar. It's the beginning of the days of Purim, like we learn in the Mishnah, that the Megillah can be read from the 11th, the 12th, the 13th, the 14th, and 15th. Sometimes if they had, in the olden days, marketplace was basically Monday and Thursday. Everybody would come and they would offer their wares. And so on Monday, preceding, even though maybe Purim was on Thursday or maybe Wednesday, that Monday you could back up the reading of the Megillah, because people were there in the marketplace. In fact, that's part of the reason we have the Torah reading on Monday and Thursday. The Beis Din would meet Monday and Thursday. So it was just practical, because that's when everybody would get together. So the beginning of the time of reading the Megillah is the 11th of Adar. And this is in addition to the fact that this Shabbos, the Shabbos before Purim, has a connection to Purim. We know that all 6 days of the week are blessed from the day of Shabbos. On Shabbos it says that God blessed the 7th day. So the blessing of Purim comes from Shabbos beforehand. Vayikra b'Shabbos shlofnei Purim k'ayim Parshas Zochur. The day lismach mechias lemechias Haman. Now, why do we read Parshas Zochur? We might have done this before, but we read Parshas Zochur in order to connect the destruction of Amalek to the destruction of Haman. Because Haman, of course, was from the children of Amalek. The words of the Gemara that we don't do before the remembrance. That means in the Shabbos before Purim we remember, and in Purim we do it, this idea of the destruction of Amalek. And therefore we should begin with explaining what is Purim, and especially what do we learn out in Avodah, in our divine service, that this is the true idea of reading the Megillah that began on the 11th of Adar. As the Baal Shem Tov says, that whoever reads the Megillah, the halacha says, whoever reads the Megillah backwards did not fulfill the mitzvah. In other words, you can't read chapter 8 and then chapter 6. But the Baal Shem Tov says, a beautiful explanation, if you read the Megillah backwards, you think the Megillah is something that happened and is not something that is happening, it's a story of the present, then you don't get it. Right? So this is the whole point of a holiday. Like we said before, why do we have to remember? Sometimes it seems archaic. What are we remembering? What happened 2,500 years ago? You're not remembering 2,500 years ago. These are kind of archetypes. These are stories. These are relevant chapters of human history and destiny. And therefore, when you remember it, you reenact the lesson and the importance of this concept. You relive this event, particularly not only reliving the past, but as it relates to your Avodas Hashem, your service of God in the present. So also we can explain the lesson in a person's service, which we read from Parshas Zochur. The idea of Purim is that the Jewish people accepted the Torah, which not accepted, they implemented the Torah which they accepted previously. This means that the completion of the acceptance of the Torah was by Purim. Because in the days of Purim, there was a Mesiras Nefesh. The Jews had self-sacrifice. That they gave their lives, basically they were willing to die for being Jews, because they could have, God forbid, converted. And then the decree was against Jews. It wasn't against, pagans. And so the fact that they didn't even think about that, we see this in the Holocaust also, that the Jews were willing to remain with Jewish identities. Nobody denied it, even the Jews of Russia, right? They went through very, very difficult times, as in our own time. But nobody said, oh, okay, I'm going to be a Christian or I'm going to something else. No, I may go down as a Jew, but I'll be a Jew. And so also in the days of Purim, and every single year, we reenact this idea of this resolution, which is the complete acceptance of fulfilling the will of Hashem. Through, how do we do this? We arouse within ourselves the internal Jew, which is what? What is Judaism ultimately? It's the belief, and even more so, the ability to sacrifice oneself for the belief. Many Gentiles have belief, but the ability to sacrifice oneself for that belief we find primarily by the Jewish people. That this goes through all the parts of the individual. That means anything that God tells me to do, I'm willing to do it, even if it's a sacrifice, because this is who I am. And the preparation for this is in the reading of Parshas Zochur, which is we remember the destruction of Amalek to the extent, Lo Tishkach, you should not forget to destroy it. Now, the Inyani Shel Amalek chutzpah shebehepech mitam v'das. Now, this is very interesting. It's very fascinating. I had the privilege on Shabbos to read a Maimer of the Rebbe, which was all about Amalek. So there's something called, we've discussed it many times, but basically there's something called arrogance. But arrogance basically can come from three different factors. One factor is that it makes sense, right? So there's another factor of arrogance that it doesn't make sense. In other words, There can be arrogance that makes sense. Let's say I remember I met a guy who was in a rehab, and he told me that, he was arrogant. Why? Because as a young person, he was a pretty good pianist, and I guess he got a lot of accolades. So he became arrogant. But that arrogance was based on something. It wasn't a complete delusion. It was based on the fact that he was talented, he was getting praise. So his arrogance had a reason. But then you have another arrogance like Amalek. Amalek was actually a descendant, a little bit like Hitler. He was like a bit of a bastard. He was a descendant of a maid, and so he, in fact, probably partially because of his shame, he was super arrogant. His arrogance had dominated his whole personality, and therefore all he was arrogance. He couldn't handle anyone being better than him. It's a little bit like the wicked queen in Snow White. When there's arrogance, you can't handle that the other is better than you. And so that's the idea of Amalek. It's called chutzpah shebehepech v'tamadas. So you could have a normal arrogance, meaning, okay, there's a factor here. But then there's no factor whatsoever. There's no reason for this person to be arrogant. What's arrogant? That you're better. But are you better? I remember when I was touring Europe, and I saw, you certainly see it in Germany, but you see it even more in Austria, where Hitler was from. There's a tremendous arrogance of the people. And it's interesting because kind of genetically, they're the descendants of Amalek. There's an arrogance in them which makes no sense. What are you being arrogant about? You have nothing to be arrogant about. And yet they're arrogant in any event. And of course, that leads to jealousy and hatred and maliciousness and all these negative things. So now this is very interesting because it's the flip side of holiness. So Amalek is the exact opposite of holiness. So basically you could say there are three realities in life. Reality number one is, let's say the lowest reality is kind of the big shot, the bully, which he basically is suffering from low self-esteem. So he creates a narcissistic delusion. And that's it. That's who he is. He's the best, and he's got to prove that he's the best, and that's his whole life, which is being the best and proving that he's the best. The next is you have a normal person. The normal person may be humble, depending on circumstances, or maybe based on circumstances, he may be proud or a little arrogant, this and that, but it's based on some kind of reality. It's not a delusion. Then you have a Jew. A Jew is meant to be the exact opposite of Amalek. We are arrogant for Hashem beyond any logic. In other words, what is logic ultimately? Logic is what is in my interest. So if I said to you, in fact, the Jewish terminology, because there's a halachic terminology of somebody who's a shaita, which you would call maybe like what we would call maybe mental or something, somebody that has an issue. And he's not responsible for many mitzvahs. There are many, many halachic categories about somebody who's a shaita. So it's very interesting, there's all these definitions. What is crazy? Einstein says that you repeat the same input, expecting a different output. There are all these interesting definitions. But the halachic definition is ma'abdim mashenoisnim loy. He doesn't know how to value things. You give him $1,000, he loses it. Right? That's like a child. A child, even though the child may be very smart, he doesn't know how to value things. He doesn't know the structure. What is valuable, what isn't valuable, he doesn't know how to value things. So logic ultimately is that you would say a person who's logical, let's say if I give him, $10,000, he'll know how to use it properly. He won't just waste it, right? Somebody who's a fool will just blow that money, he won't have anything. But that's ultimately self-interest. So it's logical, but the logic itself is doing what? It's serving the self. It's smart for who? For self. A Jew is not logical. A Jew is beyond logic. He's willing to serve Hashem even if it's against his own interest, because he knows that Hashem is true, Hashem is good, and in a way it's like a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice for what's true. And so that, of course, is the highest level, that we're not kind of logical, we're what we call super rational. We go beyond just the rational, and we go into the super rational. And so these are very succinctly 4 different levels, which really, in a sense, encompass us. so how does Amalek get us to be? So again, how does Amalek get us to be not act in our Jewish essence? Because a Jew by nature is super logical. We're even secular Jews. You see, they're very, very passionate. This guy told me, a Russian once told him, I never met a Jew who isn't religious. Whatever they believe in religiously, right? So sometimes you have Gentiles that go, whatever, happy-go-lucky, they've got their job, they're happy, it's all good. But by Jews, they're always passionate because they have this big soul and they're seeking the truth, and sometimes they think this is the truth and they're ready to go. I bet you 50% of the kind of altruistic organizations in the world are run by Jews because they've got all this kind of passion going on. Yesterday I did an interview with this guy, like a doctor, therapist. The guy's like in Sarajevo, helping, counseling people. Who does that? Only a Yid. So anyway, so this is the story that there's this kind of super goodness within us, which goes beyond logic. It's like obvious for a Jew. Hashem, helping others, sacrifice, charity. And we see this very clearly. It's in our, so to say, DNA. It's part of makeup of who we are. So there has to be free choice in this world. So how do you get free choice? So God made a klippa. God made an evil. And the evil is called Amalek. And the job of Amalek is to calm you down. Don't worry about it. Judaism is not so exciting. God is not so real. And once you calm down, so, I've mentioned this before, but there's a video that I saw. I was on the plane. It's called Merchants of Doubt. In other words, there were 7,000 studies that smoking is dangerous. So the tobacco companies got nervous. So they went to basically Madison Avenue. They said, what do we do? So they say, well, you don't have to convince people that smoking isn't dangerous. You have to make them doubt that it is. And that's very powerful. So they went out, they sued anybody who said anything. And they were not trying to really prove that smoking is healthy. They were just trying to make people doubt. And the same thing happened with this global warming, that however you think about it, but basically they were showing that there were scientists for hire, that basically right now, 10% of America thinks it's a problem, 10% thinks that it isn't a problem, 80% isn't sure. And that's enough to get you not to act, because you're a doctor, you tell me to take a medicine. If I trust you, I'll take the medicine. But if I doubt, somebody else comes along and say, Western medicine's a bunch of whatever, that doubt itself is enough to stop me from acting. And action is the main thing, right? It's all about action. So we see that Amalek is a very serious foe that we have, and he's within us. In other words, you're going in the way of Torah. Amalek tries to weaken your passion. Do your Torah. Just calm down. There are a lot of movements that also we're Jews, but just don't take it too serious, right? In fact, I'm not trying to be negative, but the foundation of reform was by a guy. In fact, he was an Orthodox Jew. His name was Moses Mendelssohn. And he said, I think it's a very disgusting statement, but he said, Yehudi bebeischa ve'ish betzeischa. Be a Jew in your home and be a man outside, right? So they were part of Germany, they had this arrogant, I guess the Germans looked like they were kind of like Menschen, which we know that they were actually, worse than animals. But be that as it may, the Jews then had a perception. So be a Jew at your home and a person outside. So and then you have like the exact opposite approach, like the Hasidic Rebbes, who they were not trying to be a Jew in your face, but let's be proud of who we are. There's no reason, this is good stuff. In fact, we have to be a light unto the nations. So you see how this little nuance, in a way, it's nuanced. One person saying be religious, just outside, just chill. Another guy saying no, be like full force. That little difference is Moses Mendelssohn's grandson already had converted to Christianity. And so because the passion for truth is what keeps it going. And Amalek knows, and anybody who's trying to destroy a generation knows, the first thing you do is you get into the children, you get into the education system. Because, and in fact, Russia has done this successfully in America, is that when you get this information and you get the children to believe bizarre ideas, then already the next generation's finished. The generation after that, hopefully they'll come to their senses, but practically it's very difficult. So first of all, Amalek, it says the Yetzer Hara is very, very smart. The Yetzer Hara is a good salesman. He doesn't come to you and says, go worship idols. He says, today, just chill out a little bit. Tomorrow, he says, Karcha, you know what? Don't believe so much in God. Everything is just like it. It's happenstance. There's science, there's coincidence. And then, once he weakens our faith system, he can take us into any direction, because now you don't have a strong faith system. So now you can be taken into any faith system, any belief system. And unfortunately, as we saw, with Germany, they're lacking, they were all scientific, they thought they were such smart people, and lacking any faith system, they were easily convinced by Hitler to become mass murderers. So and therefore it says Zochur, and therefore God is telling us, remember what Amalek did to you. Do not forget, do not cool your passion for God, for truth. So you have to be very careful from anything that's cold, right? Because that's Amalek. Amalek is kind of the cold. There are different kinds of antagonists. You have these kind of hot-blooded antagonists, and then you have cold, like a guy like Obama was perfect Amalek. He's cool, he's calculated. In a way, he's even worse than Hitler. Why? Because he cools off, at least somebody that's an enemy, like I say, Hamas is better enemy than Abbas, than the PLO. Why? Because Hamas at least says that we hate you, we want to kill you, we want to destroy you. So it's an enemy that that it's an enemy. But the other guy says, no, we're your friend. We want peace with you. Meanwhile, what's he planning on doing? He's planning on killing you. So it's a much worse enemy. And so the idea a person has to be very careful not to lose any of their passion for God, for goodness. And so Amalek is in the world, and he's very much in people, and he could be even in a religious Jew. And the guy's very religious, but he's like, come on, just like come in like modern Orthodoxy in a way. Modern Orthodoxy is, yeah, we're Jewish, but we're also cool. We're also part of the world. So again, there's no problem with being Jewish and being a scientist and but know who you are and what you're about first. And number two, you're also doing this, as opposed to conceding your identity, because once you concede your identity, first of all, your children don't have much of it, and you yourself are on a very, very slippery slope, as we see it very clearly. So, and on the contrary, when the world is in such a state, when there's a lot of coldness, we have to warm ourselves up even more through prayer, through Torah, through tzedakah. This is our obligation, to warm ourselves up, and warm up others is even greater. In order to not come to a low level. The Rebbe says here a powerful thing. The idea of being cold, being like the whole idea, there's a statement that coldness is very close to heresy. Because you could be a religious Jew even, but if you're cold to it, you're not really being Jewish. A Jew is passionate. This is his passion. This is what he's about. He loves Hashem. He loves his Judaism. He loves his people. The existence of a Jew is fire. We are fire taken from God. Like it says, God is a flaming fire. So also we should never think that something is happenstance. A Jew has to have an extraordinary belief in divine providence, which just like it says, the eyes of God are at tzaddikim v'amchakul, tzaddikim, and every Jew is called a tzaddik. We are the precious children of Hashem. He's looking at us. He's looking with two eyes. In fact, it's interesting, the Rebbe, when people would want to go to Israel and they would want to, I don't know if the word is emigrate, but the Rebbe would say to them, you're going into the palace of the king. And you need a visa, not only from the government, you need a visa from God. And the visa from God is you behave in a godly way. Maybe based on the circumstances, we should all pack up and go, but that's a separate issue. The idea of remembrance is not only about something negative, such as Amalek. So this is very interesting, as Chassidus often does. It says that, I mentioned this yesterday to Yidel, but I'll mention this to you today, very interesting, that I learned on Shabbos a very powerful thing from the Rebbe. The Rebbe says, Judaism is not about what we're not meant to do. Judaism is about what we are meant to do. If God wanted what we shouldn't do, he didn't have to make the world. Because if he made the world, he gave this opportunity to mess up. So it's not about messing up. It's about fixing up. It's about doing good. So also the idea of remembering Amalek and destroying Amalek is not mainly about the negative. It's mainly about the positive. To remember to be passionate about your good passions. Do not forget, right? The first problem in life is forgetting. And it's very interesting because forgetting often is related to lack of passion. I saw this in Chassidus, it says, I'm paraphrasing, but why is it that children remember everything and adults forget everything? The answer is that in the past you were present, right? In other words, when you were passionate, so you were focused, you cared about it, so it downloaded. Basically, I think scientifically, there's also a connection between your emotions and your memories. So if something isn't emotional to you, you're not going to remember it. If something is emotional to you, you're going to remember it. And so also that we have to be emotional about who we are in our Judaism. And that way, we're not possible to forget. When we have such emotions, our day will be a Jewish day. It will be a good day. Even when I'm in my business, I'm recalling. That's why the whole concept of Judaism is a concept of downloading passion and being passionate for the good things, even in times of other things which are just kind of mundane things. But even when you're sleeping, even when you sleep, you can see things, holy things. In other words, you can sleep and see foolish dreams, or you can sleep and see holy dreams. I remember once the Rebbe said, I was fortunate to be, it's called a group yechidus, a group talk. And I was a student then, and the Rebbe spoke about that you even dream Torah. So I can't say I've had the privilege of dreaming Torah. My father, just between us, he's very, very fortunate. Pretty much every night he has a dream from like one of the Rebbes, and maybe at a Farbrengen and this and that. So somebody who's like really maybe living in the world of Torah, it says when a Rebbe comes to real thing, there's like God, it says, will reveal. In fact, there's a book called Shilos Utshuvas Min HaShamayim, questions and answers from the heaven. There's a way, a Kabbalistic technique that you write a question and basically put it under your pillow. You wake up in the morning and the question is answered. So there's many, but the point is that a person can be revealed in their dream, Torah, answers to questions and things like that. And this, I think, amongst greater people was more common. In his dream, he sees things of holiness. And this is why Zochur, reading Zochur is a preparation for Purim. Because we get rid of Amalek through increasing our passion. How do we do this? We remember who we are. I am a Jew. Our connection to God, which goes beyond the logic. And this becomes imprinted in my brain. I am a person. By the way, I need to share that I saw that the Rebbe says a very fascinating thing. He says, what is a Jew? A Jew is Nimna HaNimnois, right? What is God? God is, this is a very big subject, I don't want to go too deep into it, so I'm just going to say it very, very quickly. But basically, the idea is, what does it mean to be unlimited? It means that you're not even limited by the limitation of limitation. And so therefore, you have, that's basically like what we've discovered in quantum physics. It doesn't make sense because there is no limitation, so it could be going in two directions at the same time. It could be in two places at the same time, even though logically that's not possible. And that is what a Jew is. A Jew doesn't ascribe to logic. A Jew ascribes to super logic. So we manifested what we accepted. So when the Torah was given, we realized there was something extraordinary, but we didn't necessarily download that in a daily lifestyle. In a way, that's what the tzaddik does. He ascribes to super logic. And we accept that in all our ways, we are a Jew, we are a person that ascribes to Hashem, to super logic, and we do our best, obviously with our limited understanding of what it is that we should be doing. Okay, so that was chapter 2. Ready for chapter 3? Okay. Yesh lahaisiv, Nabir Shabbos Parshas Zochur, Bidl Inyan Shel Amalek, the Yud Aleph Avodas Hashem, Zman Kriyas Megillah Technu Yemei Purim. So we can add the connection of Parshas Zochur to the 11th of Adar, which is the beginning of reading the Megillah, which is the toichen, the content of the days of Purim. Al pasuk on the verse, Ki yad al keis ka Muhammad Hashem Amalek, that it is a Hashem's hand. I'm not exactly sure to translate this. Ki yad al keis ka. I'm not. Something about Hashem's hand is, there's a war of Hashem on Amalek. Allah Darsh Chazal, our sages said, She'ein shmoy shel Kodesh Baruch Hu shalom chulu ad sheyimcha shmoy shel Amalek. The name of God is incomplete until he destroys the name of Amalek. Mentioned in many places, Amalek master mechasa al yud kesha b'shem. Amalek covers over the yud k, which is, Hashem has the name a yud and a hey and a vav and a hey. So Amalek covers over the yud, we call it yud k, we don't want to say God's name, so we say yud k, covers over the yud k of Hashem. Case called kisui vehelim al yud k shelo yimshach v'yizgal b'vav k. In other words, what he causes is that the yud k should not come into the vav k. What does this practically mean? Every single Jew, we all have the 4 letters of God's name. In fact, you may not know this, but your body is shaped like God because your head is a yud, your kind of torso or your line down is a vav, your 5 fingers is the hey, and your 5 toes is the other hey. And of course, hey, the letter hey is made up of 2 heys, so it's hey hey, which is 5 5. So God is even imprinted, and in fact, it's even in the DNA, the sequence of the DNA, the kind of the bridge goes between the letter 10, 5, 6, and 5. So God is very much imprinted in who we are. I mean, that's only on the body, and the soul is even more so because that represents the 10 soul powers, which is literally a mirror image, obviously a very tiny mirror image, but it's a mirror image of God. And it's chelik Mashem Avaya, it's part of Hashem. It like says, Vayikra, God blew into his nostrils the breath of life, he who flows from his essence. Every single Jewish soul, chelik elika mimal mamish, is literally part of God. It's like a part of, let's say, a drop from the ocean represents the entire ocean. In fact, because you're dealing with a spirit thing, it's not only an ocean, you're dealing with a spiritual concept. So it's like 1 + 1 = 2 is the same 1 + 1 = 2 in wherever it is. So the essence of the Jew, which I believe refers to the fact that we're by nature sensitive, compassionate, intelligent, These are divine attributes, which literally is Hashem, perhaps in a microcosm. Now, these four letters of God's name is subdivided into two parts. On the Staris Lavaya Lekenu, the secret part, which is Yud Kei Shebashem. Right? So we all have basically, I guess you could call it subconscious and conscious self. In a sense, that was the great discovery of Freud, which wasn't so, very clear to this from beforehand. But basically, Freud came along and said, hey guys, you think you know who you are? Actually, you have a subconscious. There's a lot of drives in you that you don't know. Now, we also have a spiritual subconscious. Every single Jew has by nature a great love and awe and reverence for Hashem. But that can be subconscious, and your conscious may be a little bit different. How do you fan this subconscious into conscious? You have to think about the greatness of Hashem, and that's part of what we do in davening, is by meditating on the greatness and the kindness of Hashem to us, we arouse our love. We take it out of the subconscious, right? That's Tanya, basically. First 18 chapters are how to have direct meditation, and some people direct meditation doesn't really work for them. So then it's about arousing from the subconscious. But then you have the conscious, which I like to say, what is your conscious? Your thought, speech, and action. So if thought, speech, and action is your conscious, so all you need to do is think, speak, and do good. And that's, again, one of the points of the Tanya. And this is, again, one of the major ideas of the Tanya, that life is not about your emotions. Other religions, Bahavdol, they're all into emotions, right? As we speak now, there are a lot of people, they're emotional, they're meditating, and all this stuff. Very nice. But what are you doing for someone else? What is the benefit of all your emotions? In Judaism, emotions are a tool for action. And so emotions are meant to motivate Torah study, motivate prayer, motivate action. And this is the main thing. Now, Yud starts his bonus begins Havaya, Shemayach V'Seirus, the Avodas Hashem, V'Yiras Hashem, Midrash Belev, LaYimshuchu V'Yachtru V'Niglas B'Avodah Poil. So this is very, very, very important, because I like things that are defined. And the reason it's nice to have things that are defined is because it gives you a handle. Sometimes words, which are definitions, allow you to see things that you would never understand or see before. So this is saying as follows. What does Amalek want to do? He wants to divide between your subconscious love and your conscious action. What did we say before? If we could just get you to doubt, if we could just get you to cool down, so you're not going to act, right? So if my goal in life was, let's say you wanted to invest in a stock, and I was the opposite stock, and I wanted to get you away. So all I need to do is say, the thing that you're investing in, I heard from somebody, it may be a bad deal. I don't even have to say anything wrong about it. All I have to do is put a doubt in your head, and now you don't have the passion to invest in it. And so that's why it's very, very important in life to understand that we're under attack. And remember, Amalek is in each one of us. Amalek is not an outside force, he's an inside force. And each Jew is under constant, because the world really depends on our passion, our Torah, our mitzvahs. And Amalek is, without going too deep into it, is the negative force of destruction. So as long as he can get us to not do, he's winning the war. And this is the idea of getting rid of Amalek in the avodah of a person, that it should be revealed to him the name of God in completion, Shem Shalom Echad, a complete name, Ayidei Zeh, Shein Hefsek Bein HaNistaros Yudkei LaNiglos Vavkei. Shanistaros, V'inyonim Apnimim V'nistarim, Nimshachim V'voyim, V'gilui V'poyel, Mamish V'niglos. And this is the destruction of Amalek in the avodah of a person, that it should be revealed to him the name of Hashem in completion, a complete name. In other words, very fascinating. So this is what it says, that God's name is only completed with the destruction of Amalek, because what's the completion of Hashem's name? it's Yud K and Vav K. So in other words, when you complete the connection between what you want to do for Hashem and what you do, there's no separation. So now Hashem's name is complete. That the subconscious comes into the conscious. Means that and this is also hinted to what we say we read the Megillah from the 11th to the 15th. The Shalah says, Yud Aleph hu communion oises Vav Kem Hashem. Yud Aleph is the amount of the letters of Vav and Hey of Hashem's name. And Tes Vav 15 hu communion Yud K. And Tes Vav is like Yud K. And this is what it says. The Megillah is written in Yud Aleph and in Tes Vav. The Ram is to hint, Shashlem is to Purim, that the completion of Purim, they did what they accepted before. That your belief and your Mesiras Nefesh, that the faith which is beyond any logic, it goes into the Vav K. Basically the same thing, but just going into a bit of play on words. Yud K is Vav. Mayif 11. It starts with Seder Mesudim in a Kalakov. It's Yud Aleph Vav K. Aveda B'Poyel Achach Tes Vav Yud K Mayif 11. V'nimtza Sha'atoichin Yemei Purim Machchana Sha'yidei Kriyas Parshas Zochur Hu Lahamshech Anastadas by Niglois. So what is the whole idea of Purim? It's to bring the hidden into the revealed, right? That's the whole idea of Esther. Esther was hidden, bring from the hidden to revealed. Including the highest level of the hidden. So what's interesting is that kind of scientifically, the scientific mind actually makes a fundamental mistake about reality. Because the scientific mind likes to say, if I can't see it, it's not real. If I can't measure it, it doesn't exist. But it's the exact opposite that's true. Because that which is most real cannot be measured. That which can be measured is only basically, for all intensive purposes, a bit of an illusion. And so therefore, it's about getting to the essence. What we think is nothing is actually everything. And what we think is something is actually nothing. It's getting to the soul, the source of everything. And it's Kudus Yadus, the source of life. Our faith and sacrifice, which goes beyond any logic or reason. It's based on trust. Higher even than that which is hidden in the heart. An understanding in our emotions that even this level, the Nestar is that this should be revealed in completion. So this is the goal, to reveal the inner in the outer. The Yuvim B'Teisus Beer will understand this by first prefacing the Hekta Beer Ili to put on the Gav Matan Torah. So we have to understand, it's a very bizarre statement that Matan Torah, God gave us the Torah, we're in such a high level. It says that even a Jewish maidservant saw what Yecheskel ben Buzi, which is one of the greatest prophets, didn't see. We saw how the whole world is divine. So that was the time that was less than Purim. How could that be? How could it be that when the Jewish people were on the highest level, it was only the beginning? The ilu, the Purim, but on Purim, when the Jewish people were in the lowest way, that is when the completion of Torah and mitzvahs took place. How could such a thing be? In a sentence, this is actually the very reason why it can be. Very, very important, the words that I was saying now. You know, if you make a commitment, I have a friend from Iran, he says, so by the Muslims, they have this thing, I guess in Iran, they go to the imam, they're going to get married to this woman for an hour. Very convenient. But that's not a marriage. A marriage is that you're basically, as the Gentiles say, till death do us part. That's a marriage. That's a commitment. In other words, if your Judaism is that, okay, when it's convenient for me, I'm going to do it. That's not Judaism. Judaism and something that is a commitment that a person takes is real. And therefore, how do you know that Judaism is real? Not when you're at Mount Sinai and there's light and there's magic shows and there's beauty and it's manna and everything's beautiful and you're doing your Judaism. Of course you're doing your Judaism. Why wouldn't you do your Judaism? But when things are tough, you know, as Yidel himself experienced in Russia, his father was a religious Jew in difficult times. When things are tough and you do it, that's real Judaism. That shows that this matters to you more than life itself. In other words, when do you know something is real? When it's done and it won't be stopped. So whether you're rich, whether you're poor, right? Whether in health or in sickness, well, that is commitment, that this is what I am committed to. And ironically, if you don't have commitment, you have nothing. Elsewhere I saw that Rebbe said a very powerful statement, that most of the experiences we go through in life, and the Rebbe says there, we all go through ups and downs, as we all know. These are really tests of faith. Are you going to stick? I don't know, I don't fully understand this. I'm just going to quote exactly what the Rebbe says, but basically it's to show that no matter the circumstance, you are committed. Not only when God is being revealed, the Holy Temple, they saw 10 miracles all the time. Sure, you're going to bow down to God. What, you're going to see an image of a fire and a lion, and of course. But here we're in Kansas City, and we don't see God. And a lot of people, most people, in our perception, even though most people are believers, but in our perception, maybe they're not believers. Nevertheless, that's exactly where you do it. Even the darkness, a Jew gets up and he says, no, this is true, this is reality. Revealing his own essence, the essence of his soul, which is united and one with God, with an infinite, permanent connection. This is the novelty of Purim regarding Matan Torah. So Purim has something over Matan Torah. In Purim, it was revealed the deep connection of the Jew with God based on the essence of the soul. Now, this is very, very deep. In other words, there are different reasons why people can be connected. I can be connected because I need something from you. I can be connected because I think we're similar. I could be connected because we are the same. And that's the deepest form of connection. That is a permanent connection. In other words, when God came to the Jewish people on Mount Sinai, it wasn't the same. It was basically an act of love, an act of revelation. But when a Jew comes and he's ready to sacrifice his life for God in Purim, it's not because I'm enthralled, I'm in love with God. I'm in love with God, but as Alter Rebbe says, we're in love with ourselves more than we're in love with others. Rather, it's because this is who I am, and I can never give up self. When God gave us the Torah, we were on a very, very high level. The divine light was revealed to the extent that God put the mountain over them like a barrel. It says, there was a kind of basically that the Torah was given in a way that the Jews were forced. So what does it mean they were forced? They weren't forced. God said, "Do you want it?" They said, "Yes." But sure, anybody that takes you out of slavery and who destroys your taskmaster and gives you their money and he says, "Would you like to take my Torah?" You'll say yes, because God showed them so much love. So in other words, they were attracted based on their love, not based on anything which was on their intrinsic self. This is very, very interesting. To the extent that you understand something is meaning, for example, we're willing to sacrifice, parents are willing to do anything for their children. Right? Now, a person may be a very kind person. He may be a nice person. He's willing to help anyone, but he's not going to necessarily going to sacrifice himself to the same extent. Why? Because why do you sacrifice yourself so much for your child? Because you know that the child is you. And therefore, and sometimes the reverse as well. Why do parents sacrifice themselves so much for their children? I mean, the reverse, because they know that this is me. In other words, this is a connection. That's why marriage is a very important thing. Because a person says, "This is my wife, this is my husband." When they take ownership of something and they identify with it in a personal way, they relate to it much, much deeper than if it could be a very nice thing. It could be a job and I work hard for my job, but it's not me, it's not my company. Somebody else owns the company. So I may be a great employee. They say, what's the difference between a business owner and an employee? The difference is if the business is not going well, the employee works hard, the business owner works hard, but one person doesn't sleep. And so so this is very interesting. We don't know exactly how's this Jew going to be. Okay, I gave you the Torah. You're a beautiful human being. You're serving me. And the same thing as a Jew in heaven. The Rebbe speaks about this. Why does the soul have to come on earth? You know, in heaven we were great tzaddikim. We're sitting around. We're frolicking with the Shekhinah, with the divine presence. We're learning Torah. But we have to come down to earth, mess around in this difficult world, or even the challenges to godliness. The answer is because sure, you're good in heaven. But it's like the prince, the story of the prince that's sent by the king. He's a sailor, and then the king hires a harlot. Sure, you're good in the palace. You're a righteous human being. But how are you going to be as a sailor with everybody else? And so therefore, the challenge of life is basically not to be a sailor. The challenge of life is that you should be a person who consistently does his convictions irrespective of what is and isn't shown to you. Purim, when the Jewish people were in a very low level, in the darkness of Golos, it was so bad that it says their faces were blackened like the blackness of a pot. They didn't see God in his Mazal, like it says, Hester min Torah minayin. How do you know the word Esther from the Torah? Because it says, I'll conceal my face on that day. Nevertheless, they stood with all their strength to do Torah mitzvahs with their own effort. And this is the completion of Torah mitzvahs. They accepted what they had to do before, that now everybody could see that being a Jew, this is very interesting. It says when Mashiach comes, Sukkot, every single nation will come to the Beis HaMikdash. And the nations of the world will complain, why are you giving the Jews all these goodies? You know, we're good people too. So Hashem will make it very, very, very hot, and everybody will be sitting in a sukkah, you know, Today we have a whole movement of Gentiles that are basically copying Judaism. And so, very interesting, everybody's sitting in a sukkah. However, when it's very, very hot, scorching hot, the Gentiles are going to go out of the sukkah, or they're going to even kick the sukkah. They're like, who needs this misery? But the Jews will stay in the sukkah. Why? Because a Jew has a mitzvah, he does the mitzvah. It's not a question, do I like it, do I not like it? The mitzvah is the mitzvah. And that's the point. Hashem was showing, no, these are people that even retroactively, they are people that always do the mitzvahs. And because of that, they are the ones that they are real. They are my real kids. In other words, when God gave us the Torah, okay, this is a little kind of nuanced. When God gave us the Torah and Matan Torah, this was mainly because of what's called koichas hageluim. So within us, we have revealed and concealed powers. We have havana v'hasaga, we have understanding, right? So you can understand, and you are aware of your understanding. So something that's revealed is something that you are aware of. Something that's concealed is something that's there, but you are unaware of. V'regesh b'lev, and a feeling, an emotion in your heart, you can be aware of. Ilu ha'kabbalah to Purim, when the Jews accepted God on Purim, they did it from a place which was beyond awareness, from their essence. Things were not looking good at that time. And at that time, and I think there's a certain thing that's happening in our world today as well with coronavirus, that as the kind of facade and as the allure of the whole outer reality, basically it's, built to basically, the secular world has nothing to offer. So what do they offer? They offer experiences for your senses, whether it's travel, God forbid if it's worse like drugs, but it's all sensational experiences because they have no content. And therefore, as that experiential, sensational world falls apart, what happens is we become deeper people because we all have depth. And in a way, in the very darkness, the depth becomes revealed. In a certain sense, that's why I heard this from Rabbi Jacobson. He said that, our ancestors in Russia, they didn't have a problem with being real people because they didn't have anything to be unreal about. It's very, very subtle points. I'm not going into all the details, and we'd have to unravel it a lot more, but just touching on it. So in a way, there's a very, very, I just want to focus on one concept, which I think is very deep. Everything in life, I once heard this from a rabbi, very kind of a great scholar and Hasidus. He says, life is always about one thing. And that is, and I didn't see this Hasidus, so I can't say that it's 100% true, but it makes some sense. He says, life is always about revealing the essence of your soul. And so therefore, there are many tactics that God uses to reveal our essence. A child by nature is pure, he's kind, he's good, he's wants everything to be good. So what happens? What happens is life. And a lot of it is fear, and some of it is lust. But between fear and lust, we can kind of get diverted from our essence. Now, the interesting thing about life is that we're not meant to just be these little angels. We're meant to have some fears. Some fears are healthy fears. Some fears lead us to creating healthy boundaries, right? Part of the problem with children, kind of I don't want to label, but the delusion of the left is that they have no common sense. If you don't have boundaries, you don't know how to put up borders to those that want to kill you, you're an idiot. So there's something called healthy fears, healthy boundaries. On the other hand, there's unhealthy lust, where instead of using your time for making the world better, for making yourself better, or even, let's say, making money to help others, It's just about self. It's about selfish, whatever the instinct is. And so therefore, it's necessary to kind of, in a way, you have to redirect yourself. And that's really what the Torah is all about. And that's what life is all about, which is, it's all about the combination of the soul and the body, the inner and the outer, the mind and the heart. Because when you combine these two factors, so suddenly you have passion, because you need to have passion, and lust in its own, in the right time, and ego in the right time is all necessary. But all that, like a fire, it has to be guided. And if a fire is unguided, and if it's unchecked, it's destruction. If it's guided, it's warmth, it's heat, it's food, it's light, it's everything positive. And therefore, this combination is the essence of everything. Based on this, we can connect why Purim is connected to Mashiach. What is the whole idea of Mashiach? Mashiach is the idea of the completion of Matan Torah, right? So what began, very, very interesting, the Rebbe speaks about this. We are not in different stages. We are all in one stage. The world really has one stage. It's towards redemption. And everything in life, from the beginning to the end, is one stage towards redemption. In fact, everything in the Torah really teaches us something towards redemption. And certainly the Torah and the Torah of Mashiach, which is the essence of the Torah, the giving of the Torah, and Mashiach is one stage towards that inner essence. The entire goal of the Torah of Mashiach, the entire goal of Mashiach is the essence of Matan Torah. So in other words, Matan Torah is not a stage, it is the essence. Now, the essence may have been concealed and will be revealed later, but it was a direct process to Mashiach. Lastly, where we make this world into God's home. The Rebbe's quoting here. We already experienced something similar to this at Matan Torah. However, at Matan Torah, this was a temporary experience. I met a Jewish lady, and very rational, very nice woman. She certainly was not lying. So she told me that she has two kind of memories of the past, and one of them was being at Matan Torah. And at Matan Torah, she felt how the energy kind of went into her. It was like the energy of God sort of permeated within. So at that moment, they saw how everything is divine, but it was a temporary sight. The main revelation will be when Mashiach comes. When Matan Torah happened, this was revealed from above. When Mashiach comes, this will be from below. The Kivin, and because the main thing of working on our own self began at Purim, therefore is emphasized in Purim, the connection to the complete redemption. In other words, in Matan Torah, there was a revelation of godliness in this world. Like it says, the whole nation saw the voice. They looked to the right and they hear the voice of God. I am God, your Lord. They looked to each direction. They could literally see what was normally heard, and they could see it coming from all directions. Surely God was a time that no animal bayed, the world was silent. And this is reminiscent as I mentioned the other day, that just like, or I mentioned this in a little, anyway, one of my kind of podcasts, that the world, we are getting prepared, I think, for a similar circumstance to the Mashiach when the Jews came out of out of Egypt, they received the Torah. And so, in order for us to receive the Torah, there had to be a certain silence. In order to receive, there has to be a certain humility. When a person is full of themselves and full of their desires, it could not even be, we don't necessarily have to say it in a negative, but it's just a natural thing. When a person is kind of driven and this and that, what's in them is their own little reality, whatever that reality, whatever their imagination or their compulsion or their passion is. But in order to receive, you have to be humble, you have to be silent. And in that silence, you're able to hear. And when the Torah was given, the whole world went silent. And in that silence, they could receive. And I think that part of what's going on now is perhaps we're getting ready for the ultimate revelation. There has to be a little bit of a period of silence. And in this silence, we're being prepared for the infinite. Very reminiscent of the time of Purim. Why? Because it was a time of concealment. However, this concealment is also revelation. And this is something that occurred to me as soon as this little plague began, that concealment is revelation, because revelation is concealment. In other words, whatever you know is already a contraction from the infinite. If it exists, it's a contraction from the infinite. And so therefore, as you go away from self, away from kind of everything you know, a little bit into humility and silence, you get closer to the infinite. That's why the moon, as it gets distant from the sun, and all it does is reflects the sunlight, it becomes bigger. But as it turns around and comes close to the sun, it becomes smaller. So when it kisses the sun and is intimate and married to the sun, it actually is invisible. And that creates a new reality in infinite cycles. So this concealment that is beyond revelation, because it's from the infinite, which is beyond limitation, will come to us in the Messianic era. And this occurred in the Golus. That's where they got not the revelation of God, which was a revelation, which again, revelation is concealment. But because they went into concealment, they got true revelation, which truth is neither revelation nor concealment. It's like whatever it needs to be at the time. Without going into too much detail what this means. One second, please. Right. So this is in a little sense like the color black. Ironically, the color black is black because it contains all light. It's concealing the light within. Because what is light? The light is the reflection of the color. But if something is black, what it's doing is it's absorbing the light. So ironically, within the darkness, the all light is there. They are one nation through their connection to the one God. This includes that they draw down the unity of God in the world. This is part of the Jew's job. I'm learning now something from the Rebbe. It's available on my website, but about the Rebbe speaking about kind of both the Jew and the world. And one of our jobs is revealing godliness. The world creates a perception of separation, that things are separate. And our job is to show, no, they're not separate. They're actually all part of oneness. We reveal the unity of God even in this low world. Through this we reveal in the entire world the kingdom of God. It goes from Haid to Kush, 127 countries, literally, if you go to the Cholamim, through the entire universe, like it says, that the world will be God's. That day, God will be one, and His name will be one. Based on what we said, that Purim is connected to Mashiach. So now we understand why many of the laws of Purim are connected to the letter Mem. For example, Megillah, Mishlayach Monos, Matonos Le'avyonim, and Mishta V'Simcha, Uva'akdama. Closing our goals for Gula Nirmas Ba'is Mem. In general, redemption and concealment are connected to the letter Mem. Why? The Mem, which is Sucha, the Mem, which is open, this shows on Golus. This is hinted to in the verse, the walls of Jerusalem, and it says at the end of a letter, meaning normally you would conclude with the concluding mem, but it has an open mem, heim prutzim, mem suchet has an open mem b'sefer teva at the end of a word. Mem stuma meidal gula, and the closed mem shows on redemption. Murum is possible, like it says in the pasuk lemarbe hamishra. And that pasuk has a closed mem in the word of l'shalom and ketz. There will be infinite peace. Mem stum v'em sateva in middle of a word. Ustimas hapitzas the mem sucha. Shatia mem stuma, and the conclusion of this. In other words, this is one of the things it says that when God made the world, He made it with the ruach tzfainis, the one side. Basically, the world has crust over all sections, except for one section is not closed. And I think it also represents, I don't want to say it wrong, but something to the extent like there's a northern wind, which basically makes people crazy and makes them not kind of miyushav, not settled and not normal. And therefore, there's a part of life that needs to be closed, right? So you need to have energy, but as we said before, energy has to be closed. It has to be directed. It can't be like in Africa, everybody's just running wild. You can't have some kind of, you can't have Wildkeit. You have to have common sense. You have to be able to manage your emotions. This happens through the service of a Jew, avodas hamata dafka, literally serving down here. Because the world, as it was created by God, okay, the Rebbe speaks about this. The world is only surrounded by three winds. The world is like a porch. The northern wind, so it's open on one side. It is not surrounded. In other words, there is a force in our world. Now, everything in this world is based on balancing forces, right? I don't know it completely. I'm just going to say it a little bit as I understand. There's matter and there's antimatter. If you don't balance these forces exactly in these tremendous decimal points, the whole world, God forbid, everything is balanced. So there's one force, this northern wind, which is not balanced. What What does it mean that it's not balanced? There's a place for it to blow. And in a way, perhaps that's the connection to ego. In other words, the ego is unbalanced. It wants what it wants. It has, like a child, it has no brains. It has no balance. Because I want it, what is the ego? I should get it because I want it, which is kind of this, an insane loop. It's a loop that doesn't make any sense. And this creates kind of that we can go descend lower and lower. But through our avodah, through what we do to fix things up, avodas hamata, doing what we do down here, b'koyach atzmam, with our own energy. And the main thing is we do this in a situation of concealment. And in such a situation, we draw down the aleph, we draw down alufei shel olam, the one of God. B'toich pirtzas hagolus, within the golus. So in other words, you close this loop. And this is very, very profound, because it means within ourselves, we all have a part of ourselves that can go wild. We have to close that loop through a humility and obligation to, or maybe through revealing our essence, that we're really godly, and that way it closes off that Amalek part of us. And when we close that loop, then Malka Mashiach, who has two mems, comes. In other words, this is one of the great things that are happening in the world, or happen in the world, is we're closing off the Amalek. Because as long as Amalek was in our world, we were capable, as we saw unfortunately with the Germans, of heinous evil. But as that humility comes in, without going into all the things we've spoken about before, we become a mensch. And in the mensch, but a permanent mensch. We're not looking for a guy who's temporary mensch. We're looking for a permanent mensch. And therefore, as we went through our humility, we went through everything, as we integrate, we seek truth, we integrate truth, we balance ourselves, we become someone who is capable of not infinity, but somebody who is infinite, somebody who can continue indefinitely in a good path. Based on what we said before, that the main thing of Avodas Hamata, serving down here below, began in Purim. Purim, what happened was we began with our own Kabbalah, with our own acceptance. It's not from something that came from above. In other words, what happened in Purim, this is the fundamental thing, being a human being, we are the ones that have to accept. You know, when the Rebbe would encourage people, obviously one of his main tasks were encouraging people to do Judaism, he never pushed them. He always encouraged them. Why? Because if you get someone to do something, like a famous story, the Rebbe once told somebody to speak to someone to put on a beard. So the individual so the guy went over to the guy and he told him that he should put on a beard. So the Rebbe then said to him, did you say that I should say? So he said, yes. He says, you shouldn't have said. I already have a beard. I wanted him to wear his beard. This is mainly through Purim. And this is also hinted to, that many of the mitzvahs of Purim are hinted to, they begin with the letter Mem. This is mainly in this year. Shnas Arbaim was the 40th year of the Rebbe being the Rebbe. 40 years, very, very special. Like the pasuk says, the Eibusha gives us a heart, a mind to see The connection to the Geula through Mashiach. We can add based on what it says before, it's even more emphasized the mitzvah of Purim, the achdus of the Jewish people. It said before, the idea of Purim is to manifest that which is hidden and that which is revealed. That means the highest level of that which is hidden, that's the soul, that is galaba aveda b'poyel, should come down in actual aveda. Well, similarly from above, that the highest level of what's hidden, I will be hidden in that day. Will come to the whole world. They have through the avodah of the Yidden with their own koyach. That even in the darkness of exile, in a situation that there are throughout all the nations, separated in the world of separation, but still we are one nation. They obviously through love and unity, based on our internal connection with the Eibishter and the Kudus Yadus from the essence of being a Jew, which by every Jew is there. Until we reveal the oneness of God in the whole world. Because the main chiddush of Purim is that even a situation of separation, we reveal the oneness of Hashem through the unity of God. Therefore, this is emphasized also in the days of Purim, like it says in Sfarim. Why was Haman? Because there was a taina, there was a complaint. There was an inyan of pirut. Haman said the Jews are not unified. Therefore, what is Purim about? It's about unity. It's about sending out presents and giving out gifts. And them, it's emphasized even more so the unity of the Jewish people. Through this, you have the unity between the person who gives and the person who receives it. Similarly, when we speak about Mishta and Simcha, unity, the what is the greatest joy is to make the heart of the poor and the orphans and almana and gerim to make their hearts happy. That with this joy, we have more the idea of the poor. In other words, we want to celebrate, we want to make other people happy. This also applies in the reading of the Megillah. That we have to go after 10 people. It has to be done in the most people possible. Until we get rid of Talmud Torah for reading the Megillah, and we do it in a congregation. And based on what we said before, the mitzvahs of Purim begin with the letter Mem, which hints on the redemption. We can add that even these words, that it's disconnected, they are hinted to in the letter Mem, the Mem of the other side. And through this, that we create achdus, unity, in the place of where they're separated. Through the mitzvahs of Purim, and now we're still the servants of Achashverosh, which begins with the letter Mem. So from this we see that this separation is actually good. That God did a kindness that he separated them between the nations. They should reveal the true unity, even in a time of separation. Through this, we get rid of the issue of the mem, getting rid of the problems, the negative. And it happens a situation that the there is infinite joy and gladness. And the true redemption of Hashlemus, and the completion to Malcolm Mashiach, taking me out mamash immediately. What is the lesson in actuality? The great, we have to work very hard on all the things of Purim, with love and unity. In addition to the fact that we have to do all the mitzvahs of Purim, through every single Jew, from children to young, young to old, through all the kingdoms, Malke Shalelam, the king of Hashem, kingdom of Hashem, that are close and far, Ad Lepina and Dachas, until the very furthest place. We should make an announcement and spread every single place, whether it's outside of Israel, I'd say no occasion, how much more so in our holy land, that we have to work hard, that all the things of Purim, that there is great, great light. Not only about reading the Megillah, the Maikam Mashmalon, obviously, also the other things of Purim, Mishnah V'Simcha, that all the things, even though normally they're not done in public, everybody does it on his own. Because we want to finish the Golos through the unity of the Jewish people. We have to work with all our power. That even these things should be with a great multitude, until that when we know that in a distant corner in the world, there is one Jew, Yachid. We should work hard, love, to come to him. If we can't bring him to a tzibur, bring 9 Jews to him, that he too should do Purim in public. Prati says some more detail. When we're talking about Mishta and Simcha, we're talking about these aspects of Mishta, of the joy and the Simcha. Just 1 second, please. Even though every single Jew celebrates Purim in his house, with his family, it's known, the custom that was by many Jewish Kilos Kedoshis, that they would go and put him from house to house, in order to add in the meal of Purim, they suffer from extra Jews. In addition to the fact that we could add in the joy of Purim, the entire nation, you go together with everyone, with your family. When it comes to Matanas Lavyanim, moving will become pashut, it's understood. We have to be very, very careful with the honor of those who are taking. The best way to give tzedakah is we give tzedakah to Gabbai tzedakah. Better than to give someone individually, you give to a person in charge, let's say a community organization. In addition to giving to the tzedakah in your house, that you made to make a pushka part of your house, especially in the room where you are cooking. Because we're emphasizing that even your eating and drinking is connected to the idea of tzedakah. Until giving tzedakah is a regular thing, but you're eating and drinking, they are not regular. So what you are about is tzedakah. Eating and drinking is something that you do because you have to do. As we said many times. So Vayikra, to the main thing, the irrational discloses in the kaimu mashkiv park. We have to emphasize what we've said of that the Jewish people did what they accepted. We have to accept once again all Torah Mitzvah for the whole year. That we do it with a munam, that they are emphasized in our memory forever. That they cannot be changed. And you do this actually, like I said, that the essence of the soul and the status, that the essence comes to the reveal with a great emphasis, with love and unity. This is caused by all Jewish people, not only many people, the entire world. They become one world, in a revealed way. Through revealing the essence, which will be by all Jewish people equally, until you reveal the unity of Hashem in the entire world. And all these things in a way of quickly. So whenever there's a lack of money, you have to work hard to get people to give. Nevertheless, if there's a lack of money, you do it quickly, and then you create that the Eibusha quickly reveals his presence. So kiss in his pocketbook until the main thing, the revelations of Mashiach. It's like we have a box filled with beautiful diamonds and margolish. It's closed in the box. And he's got the key. And you can open it up anytime you want. And we can say that this connects to Parshas Vayikra. On the Pasuk Vayikra al Moshe, on the Pasuk that Hashem called to Moshe, Rashi explains the whole Dirbis of Chol Amidus of Chol Tzavim Kod Mekriya. The very first thing that Hashem did is he first has Kriya, first he calls. Lashon Chiba, a way of unity. Lashon Shemalachi Yashar Shmishtamshim, by a way that the angels use it. Shenem, like it says, that they called one to another. But to the Nevi'im of the nations, Nigla Aleim, it was revealed to them. B'lashon Arei v'Tuma. The Eibush didn't come to them in a way that he calls, in a way of love, but in a way of Tumash. Remember, like it says, Vayikra Elikim El Bilam, Hashem just happened to come to Bilam. The idea is based on Chassidus, that the obligation, that Hashem's command to every single Jew, the Moshe Rabbeinu and every single Jew, is in a way that the Eibusha calls us in a way of chiba, he calls us in a way of love. Unity of God to every single Jew. So through this, it's added in our love, in our unity. Rashi Moisef. Rashi Moisef Loshen Shemalachi Asharis Mishtamshim Boik, that the Malachi Asharis, the angels use it. Shachiba Eina Ba'ifin Shechila Lahavi Kina V'Tachas. Ki'im K'may Eitz Malachi Asharis Shem B'Neim Kina V'Tachas. That this unity is not in a way that it can bring any jealousy, but in a way of the angels that everybody is happy. Furthermore, the difference between Vayikra and Vayikra, that it says by Bilam, is with an extra aleph. This hints to the Eibishter. You do it like it's known. We know the letter aleph, which the parents would teach the children, is Yud Lamaila. The Yud is above. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is the Eibishter. Yud Lamata, the Yud is below. That's Yehudi Ayud. Above and above Hamshacha, the connection, Ois Emes, which is truth. That they become one entity. Ois Achas. This is especially when you consider that the number of Aleph is one. Every other number, every other letter is not the number one. This shows Aleph teaches us the idea of unity. The unity of every Jew with God. And therefore, the unity of every Jew with one another. And where do you see this unity? Specifically where there is division. Excuse me. The Indian show, the voice, it's almost a item. Vayikra l'shachir v'sheina shayach legabi umas adam af bikain gam b'makom matzav zeh nasa b'Yisrael inyana achtus. Inyan noisa b'hemshach ha'parsha b'chol korban min choscha b'melech timlech v'lei tashbis melech b'risa lekecha ma'al min choscha. Atchuna miyuchada shel melechi shel yodi nasas kiyim adavar nimlech b'loshan ha'kosav megela matlis kohuna b'ris melech ilam koras b'risim arin it's over habris muskayim umavri esachere melech sheina masriach lelam. So we know that salt is very healthy. It makes other things last, right? It's preservative, and it doesn't stink, meaning it always remains as a food. It doesn't kind of have any. It doesn't become rotten. It gets rid of negative things. Because it comes from the strength of kedusha. There are 120 tzirufim below umehem, and from them yonkim kufchav tzirufim. And from there you take 120 tzirufim, 120 different versions of noiga. Shebein shteyim nasis, between the two of them, what happens is mem reish beis hamim kufchav cheshben Amalek of Melech mamtik adinim, and the Melech gets rid of the dinim. Mar gets rid of all the negative. Hanal, which is mentioned by Yidesha Mamshich, Meshoidish Vayikra Gvuras, through this, that it brings down from the main Gvuras, it brings down from it's a whole Kabbalistic thing. So the salt gets rid of the negative. You have basically through the positive of the negative, you get rid of the negative of the negative. The Parsha says, it says Melech is also the word of Cholim. And Cholim lashon chizuk, mayachlemu b'neim. Cholim has the word chizuk, strength. Shepirish Rashi yechasku b'chein v'tachlimeni v'chiyeni k'ma shechas b'cheskiyo. Pirish Rashi tavreini v'tachaskeni. Hainu loyrak b'riyas v'chizuk stam el shagam b'matzav yoder shel chayli nasa b'riyas v'chizuk b'shleimus inin refor. It's very appropriate to our time because getting rid of Amalek creates that we should have true health, because it strengthens you. The salt strengthens you. So a little bit of the negative creates the strength that we should get rid of Amalek, and then we should have health. The explanation of this in Avodas Hashem. The Kiruvil Alikus, getting close to the Eibishter, so in a carbon Adam in Kem Kiyakar, carbon Hashem, Tzarech Lias Ba'oifin, the Bemelech, Timlech, Belay Sashras, Melech, Bris Alekech, Lias Kiyam Nitzchi, Ba'oifin, the Bris Alekech, Alderech Pashkasa, Avrech Bris Avaya Lekecha, Shul Bechinas Iskashas, Ba'avar Rabba, and the Klol, the Mailam, Aseichel, Hainisham Eres, the Kutas Yadus, Amunum, Srestap Shlamaylam, Vitam Vidas, Finis, and he starts nearest Begilu Mavish, when Niglois, Shia Bechinas, Alekech, Mavish, Bechinas, Gilu Bepnimis. So the idea is that we have to reveal the essence of Hashem, that it should be revealed in a revealed way. Vayikra and the main revelation of this is that this revelation, is not only in the godly soul, even in the animal soul, through the soul, to get rid of the negative. We transform it to positive. Like the idea of healing, or mythical Buddhist, you might take a bitter medicine and you transform it into positive. There's also a connection to Purim, Parshas Zochur, the idea of they got what they did before Shleimus HaKabbalah came of Torah Mitzvah, the completion of Torah Mitzvah. You say this because of Yadus through inspiring our Judaism, higher than any issues. After we get rid of Amalek, in a way that we create such a situation that you are separated between the nations. That even then you are one nation. In a revealed way. The Melech of God. The infinite unity of the Jewish people with the Eibishter. It's a connection even when there is a time that you have to transform the negative and you need refuah. You need healing. The Teva of Melech is also begins with a mem. And this is to hint to that Melech comes in a place that you have to close it up, the Mem Psucha, the situation where everything is hidden, and you have to conceal the Mitzvah Shlema. Mashiach comes, infinite joy, as is meant to be, and it may be Hashem's Rosh that are actions in Purim, which begin in Yud Aleph Adar. Ask Mitzvah Shlema. It's going to increase the coming of Mashiach, but even the Mitzvah the Gula, in a way that we bring the Gula immediately. They are suffered b'simcha, especially through adding in joy. When other comes in, we add in joy. How much more so the 11th of Adar. And this increases that we go away from all Gedorim, beginning with the Gedorim of Golos, then our unity, our joy will be forever. Also after Tezvav, Shushim Purim, we'll have a new song, a great unity. Furthermore, Mitzvah Hashem, take a miyad, Purim, the first Mashiach will come. and we'll have Purim. Sharei Yemei Purim Eilu LeYavram Tzech Yehudim Tzech LeYosim Bezarim, because Purim will never end. Gam La'achre B'Yis Mashiach Tzidkenu, even after Mashiach comes. Immediately were redeemed, miyad mamish, literally immediately, in a way of quickness. As Tzav says, that we read in Mincha, until the complete zirus, like even Keravaina, won't be even for a second. That even before Mincha, before we call of Mashiach Tzidkenu, Mashiach will come. The Khan here, the highest God of Magalam B'Torah, a house that we have Torah, Magalam B'Tfilah, and we have Tfilah, P'chein Gamach, so also Gamach, Shalanosi Hagadol, the great Rebbe, the Frierdiker Rebbe, the Rebbe of our generation, that he will get up, the elder Tzaddik will get up, and he will be first. The Malin, therefore, to your Tfilas Mincha will be Mincha together with the Korban Tamid, Bein Arabayim, the Tamid between the Arabayim. As we read in Tfilah Mincha, this is the Torah Sa'ila, Vayikra Allah, that there won't be anything between the two. It will be in Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh, the city of the king, the Ir HaBira, the capital, the Malka Shaleilam of the king, Beis HaMikdash Shlishi, the Beis HaMikdash Rabbanim Meshuchel, that it's ready to come down. Shi'ar the Yisrael Lamata, it will come down, it will be revealed below. Take it from Miyad Mamish. Fine. Let's take a little break, okay? So I'll see if I have some more koyach. If I do, I'll call you back later, okay? Steve, so sorry, just saw this.